Productions.
Now, we are pounding that area. We're pounding it, like really pounding it hard. They took a pounding from Rick. It's like this guy right over here, Anthony. You know, he knows what it is to pound people, right, Ike? Anthony knows. You've pounded them to hell, and you could just leave now. I don't know if they're ready yet. They're taking a pounding. Today is a big day where we're pounding a certain area that has very much to do with the straight.
And here we are, Tyler Yonke, LPR. I thought it was, let's play a little of this. There we go. We're pounding it with the straight. That is a video. That's an exclusive video for the weekend that Trump had with Lindsey Graham. I think that's exactly what it was. The little boys' night out. We're going to go Afroman, his trial. We're going to play some clips. I'm not going to go through all of it. If you want to get the full legal breakdown, you're going to have to go to a different place. Joe Kent. Dan Bongino's going crazy at this. We're going to play some clips of Joe Kent. We're going to read his letter. We're going to do a little bit more. But hang on. First, the intro.
Things are going to start happening to me now.
I think Tyler is amazing.
And I'm a fan of this show. I've watched several episodes.
Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Tyler. You stink, Tyler.
Never promise crazy a baby.
Oh, I like that. That's a cool idea.
Are either of you homosexuals?
I go both ways. What do you think?
You mean like flaming or?
No, we're not homosexual, but we are willing to learn.
But I do wonder, for others, in other cases, whether libertarianism today is just an excuse for many on the right to act selfishly.
Look at me. And then some fat asses in Washington started having opinions. The Olympic Committee started having opinions. You bitch, I know you! You started writing your opinions.
And it just makes me wonder, you're dead, bitch. You know, why are you doing this to this poor guy?
I don't care. I'm a libertarian. What I'm getting is,
Did you vote for Joe Jorgensen or Trump?
Who?
Joe Jorgensen. That was the perfect answer. Thank you.
Here we are. We're back. We've got some chats already coming in. The fact that we got defrauded by allowing an Italian into the FBI makes me LOL every time. Who's the Italian? Who was in the FBI? Kash Patel? Oh, Dan Bongino. Yes, Dan Bongino was in the FBI. We're going to break it down. You know what? I've never really seen Joe Kent. And he goes on Tucker Carlson. And then he goes on, I just saw him, and I got a clip here. He was on with Scott Horton this afternoon. I was like, oh, he went. Okay, I see what's going on. We're going to walk through some of this stuff. I was struck by Joe Kent. For whatever you think about him, he was very mellow, and I thought he knew. He puts out a case, okay? And so if you're going to have to make arguments against Joe Kent, you're going to have to make arguments better than he's a Nazi, he's an anti-Semite, okay? Because he's putting forth a lot of facts. And maybe he's wrong. Maybe he, as Dan Bongino said, he's lying. You know, Dan, you can do it. You've been assistant director at the FBI. You can point out the lies. That's what you do. You push back, but instead of just calling him a disgrace, it is fascinating. I will say this. And I should have had the clips ready for this because this was something I was going to do, which is Mike Huckabee goes on with Tucker Carlson, and he calls out the U.S. military. He calls out Anthony Aguilar, or Tony, I think that's who it is. And basically, he made the comment that we are the most, or the Israel is the most moral military, even compared it to our military, that we're shit compared to that. By the way, Joe Kent actually says, when you're fighting with the military, the Israeli military, you've got to understand they've got a different mindset. And he's like, look, if I grew up there, I totally understand. But it puts our men in danger because we operate at a different kind of basically level. We're more moral. I think that's really what he was saying. And then you have Dan Bongino and all these types that you can't make comments about a grieving woman, right? Or this has happened over and over and over, or a grieving spouse, or whatever it is. And then you can't mock ever someone who's gone to war and that is a veteran. Now, I'm not on that. I'm like, yeah, mock however you prefer. We talked about the Charlie Kirk stuff. It's like, have some humanity. I get all that. But But these are the people, it's just like the Israel stuff where they're like, we're the most moral, we have a democracy, and then you start to pick away at this and they can't handle that. It's like, well, you gave yourself this standard, I didn't, okay? This is the way you have it. And now you want to be a hypocrite when we point out your faults. Okay, so the right, the Steven Crowders and all these, yes, thank you for your service. I've never done it, but I'm wearing a holster in my studio because that's how badass I am. Okay, I mean, I've got a gun right back there, but you don't see me flashing it in here, do you? No. So with that in mind, it's interesting to see these same people going after Joe Kent for, for all kinds of reasons, but not really for what he's saying. Right? He's a leaker. I just saw that on, it was a Razor Fist. I don't know. He's coming back from his fisting cancer. No, yeah, is he the one that had a stroke? I don't know. Or no, it was Asmongold. I don't know. One of those guys had a stroke. But anyway, Razor Fist is like, post a story about, and it says 4 sources, according to us, say that Joe Kent is under investigation for leaking. And it's like, how did they get those 4 sources? They literally, in this case, had to have 4 people leak to them about a story about a guy under investigation for leaking. And it's like, and he posted this as a gotcha. And I was like, are you upset that someone's leaking to the press, especially to like non-friendly press? Anyway, we're in interesting times here, folks. Very interesting times. There we go. We got a little bit of a chat coming in here. JC said, can't wait. I said, let's go. On the Tower Gang NPC. And Jordan said, the fact that we got defrauded by an Italian getting to the FBI makes me LOL every time. Yes. Afroman and Joe Kent, true heroes in these dark times. Yeah, so I think maybe we'll start off with the Afroman. Like I said, at the open here, we're not going to go through Afroman in the trial like some people, and kind of like what I was thinking about doing. But then, here we go. And if you don't know much about Afroman, I will get to a little bit about him. But do I even have I think I have his song here, because I had it for Tower Gang on my system, and I played it last time. Yeah, intro, Colt. Anyway, there you go. There's some Afroman. And he got raided by the police, and it was bullshit. And then he comes out and does a bunch of parody songs. And then they filed this defamation claim. And it was in, 3-4 day trial. His attorney looked in, like a Grizzly Adams got a JD, a Juris Doctorate, a law degree. But he was good. He was actually a good attorney. So, and they won. He won. But anyway, here is our Toad doing a cover. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but of the Pound Cake song.
The Adams County Sheriff kicked down my door, then I heard the glass ring. Boom, they found no kidnapping victims, just some lemon pound cake. Mama's lemon pound cake, it tastes so nice. It made the sheriff wanna put down his gun and cut him a slice of what? Lemon pound cake. He wanna put down his Glock. Lemon pound cake.
I mean, he should have been sued for copyright infringement, right? All right, because that's obviously he's just using the at the I don't know what that song is. Maybe we'll get back to it here. But this reminded me when all this came around. Joey Clark, Trump, Vivek, RFK Jr., and Afroman walk into a party. Well, what's this about? Well, what do Donald Trump, RFK Jr., Afroman, and Vivek Ramaswamy all have in common? In less than 2 weeks, all 4 will be attending the Libertarian Party's 2024 National Convention. Trump and RFK Jr. will be answering questions and courting votes for the Libertarian faithful, while Ramaswamy will be debating whoever the Libertarian LP selects as their vice presidential nominee, probably Clint Russell. Interesting. Yeah, and he did. He wasn't who he was nominated as, but Clint Russell did. That's our boy on Tower Gang there. And that's not his real name. Just throwing that out there. He did debate Ramaswamy. Afroman, who is also running his own independent presidential campaign, will be performing his new release, Hunter Got High. The theme of the LP's National Convention is Become Ungovernable. Indeed, the 2024 presidential election is shaping up to be one of the most ungovernable in a generation, as Americans are increasingly frustrated with the two major parties' two-faced uniparty that is a stranglehold on America through undemocratic and immoral means. This is a really favorable, this is 1819 news. I don't know what this is. One of the most insidious effects of America's two-party system has been the illusion of choice between the lesser of two evils. Okay, so is the same thing in there more about Afroman? Something Libertarian Party. Let's just see if there's any more Afroman. Nope, just those three comes. Okay, so there you go. There's Afroman. He was at the LP, yeah, and we played a little thing at the time about it. And so there you go. Let's delete that. We'll come back to Toad. Maybe we'll just throughout the show. Maybe we'll just there we go. That's the one we want. We'll just keep playing something.
Trending on TikTok, lemon pound cake. He's a family guy. Lemon pound got the munchies because he got on lemon pound cake. Pound cake.
Okay. Thank you, Toad. All right. So let's play a few clips from the trial itself. It was fascinating. Mr. Afroman himself testified, and he had this full-on like U.S. flag suit. But his attorney, here's just a clip, another guy posting this up about his attorney. So you have to ignore the guy in the top. This is how you do TikToks evidently. But let's play this.
Nobody looks at Lil Wayne's song Pussy Monster and says there's a monster in that song. Comedian. He exaggerates for the sake of entertainment. The same thing I knew when I was watching Johnny Carson, The Late Night Show, and SNL, Saturday Night Live, with my grandfather when I was a kid. That's all entertainment. They make fun of everybody for entertainment.
In my opinion, I fucked his wife doggy style. Like they were facts.
Some of it was funny, some of it wasn't. Some of his jokes, like those of Eddie Murphy and Richard Pryor, some of them are not tasteful, but they're still jokes. It's tasteful. Not everybody likes all music. There's some songs I hate. I think we can find plenty of people that find songs they do not like. Is a rapper and comedian. It's what, look at the song by NWA. What they call Fuck the Police. It's a social commentary on personal effect. Carrie, print me a couple songs, rap songs. Carly B. I find it bad to say what WAP means.
Who the fuck is Carly?
But then again, I'm not the audience for this, and I know that.
Okay, first off, I'm not gonna give my opinion on anything.
Okay, we don't need to keep watching this guy, but but I thought it was funny because the the attorney and he, by the way, his open very good, right? Very good. No one would support Clint for president unless he brings Tower Gang back first. Interesting. That's going to be his platform. I promise to bring back Tower Gang and more laughs. I don't know. Here's Afroman actually testifying. And this got crazy. The judge let stuff go. And it was, it wasn't on Crime Network or Law and Crime, any of these on the internet, but it was a local channel. And I don't know why they didn't do this. This would be a great one to do. But it was interesting because the judge, kind of lets things go. But you've got to rein this kind of stuff in. This guy is Afroman. I don't know his real name. Not testifying to the questions asked. He's going on a narrative. I got a trial next Friday, and this is the kind of stuff you don't do. You got to ask questions that lead to certain. Now, sometimes you want them to go. Now, I don't practice. I don't do trials in front of a jury. It's all bench trials, so it's just a judge. So it's a little bit different, right? Because as an example, you don't have to explain certain laws to the judge. He should know above and beyond you, so he gets where you're going. So it to some extent it's a little bit easier in a way, but this is fascinating. So let's start this 224 Afroman talking about
what they did searching your house gave you the right to do everything you
under the circumstance that I got freedom of speech After they run around my house with guns and kick down my door, I got the right to kick a can in my backyard, use my freedom of speech, turn my bad times into a good time. Yes, I do. And I think I'm a sport for doing so.
By the way, this is just fascinating. I love this kind of thing. When the jury comes back like quickly and they're like, nope, acquitted on, found for the defendant on all claims. It's because the standard's easier than the standard, beyond a reasonable doubt. I don't think it was preponderance of the evidence, because that's just a little bit over 50. I think it was. And then there's some that's the medium there. But he is engaging, he's entertaining, and he has a way of just speaking off the tongue, which is not bullshit. And I mean, it kind of is, right? But he kind of reminds me of the Don King style, like a Gregorius and whatnot. So,
because I don't go to their house, kick down their doors, flip them off on their surveillance cameras, then try to play the victim and sue them.
I think what had a lot to do with this case and him winning is the underlying reason why he did this, right? It's not just like, oh, you just hate someone and you're just, you don't like their reasons for, politics or whatever, and you're just trashing them like Laura Loomer does. This guy is like, no, you fucking broke down my house, my door. You came in there. You thought there was going to be a sex dungeon in my house, right? That's what the accusation was. It was such bullshit. And there was nothing there. And then you took my money, you trashed my house. And then you know what I did? I fucked you over in court.
You were at Lisa Phillips's deposition, correct?
Yes, sir.
In your lawyer's office?
Yes, sir.
Same office where you filmed part of that video last Friday?
Yes, sir.
And you saw how upset she was when she was answering your lawyer's questions about how this had affected her, right?
Yes, yes.
And you saw your attorney say, do we need to take a break?
Yes.
And you saw her say, no, let's go on and get this over with.
Yes, sir.
You saw all that.
Yes.
You knew she was upset.
Just like she knew I was upset when she was standing in front of my kids with an AR-15 with her hand around the trigger ready to shoot me. Just like she knew I was upset when she cut my cameras. But I'm not a person, she is. So I'm sorry for being a victim. Let's talk about the predators.
Okay. So
you've got to object to that. I know the jury's already heard it, but it's like non-responsive narrative. I mean, you can't just go on there. But the attorney didn't, and this is what we love.
You saw all that. You saw how upset she was. You heard the testimony about her children. You heard the testimony at the depositions about Randy Newland's daughter who came home upset. You heard all that, but you're still posting stuff about it.
Yeah, because I understand it was Randy's fault and all of their fault for coming in my house in the first place. So if they hadn't came to my house, their children wouldn't be saying nothing. None of this would be going home if they had did their research and did things right. So all of this is their fault. And now they want to sue me for their mistake.
Is there anything that could change your mind about what you're doing to these deputies?
See, you should preface this. I just want a yes or no to this. And he's like, changing your mind. But it's a dumb question. It's a ridiculous question because here's what happens.
Anything that can change my mind about the fact that they shouldn't have been at my house in the first place? Is there anything that can change my mind about how my money shouldn't have been touched in the first place? No.
That's all the questions I have.
That's all. That's how you're ending it. Your cross-examination of Afroman. Okay. Here's a little bit of another. We're just keep going with these little bit of clips. I will say I don't have the. Well, maybe we'll find it. But here, hang on.
And it just wouldn't stop. It enraged the community, and it got to the point that we were receiving death threats at work. It got to the point that
you were receiving death threats at work. You know why? Not because of this defamatory quote-unquote song, but because of the reason why he did the song. Because you guys are complete pieces of shit. And you know what? Instead of like making it right, because he's somewhat of a celebrity and he had a little bit of he had the ability to humiliate you online, which you deserved every bit of and more. So glad for this ruling here that we have, this verdict here from the jury. But this guy is just, he is so right. This is so just like we got over in Israel. or we're going to go through a little bit here where it's like anti-Semitism on college, right? Are you telling me, you know, there's a clip there of Finkelstein. Some guy's like, oh, maybe I should find that one. We'll find that one. And the victim. And then so we were going to put your foot in the neck. It's like, you know, I lash out or I don't remember what the quote is, but
my family felt unsafe. It got to the point where you know, we would get a call that says, oh, I'm coming down there, I'm coming down to do whatever. It was a threatening call, and then we'd get a call about a tree down in a wildlife area, and we'd have to go. And I'm not going down there. I mean, this could be a setup. This became, we were legitimately afraid that this was going to turn from what it was into something violent. Because he used his position of power to spread a lie. You enraged the community, and you put me and my family in danger over this. Every bit of this was a lie, and you knew it.
Shouldn't have threw a fake rage.
This is hilarious because watch the guy at the lectern. That's the plaintiff's attorney, okay, and that's his witness up there. So he's doing now. The guy starts talking directly to the defendant, which is Afroman, and Afroman answers him, and you can see Afroman's attorney like, no, dude, just let's not ruin what we've got going on.
Address,
hey,
just address disregard the court statement. Finish up your testimony. Yes, thank you, Judge.
Okay, there. Here's a little bit more with the same
Can
cop.
you tell me what fact about you that receding hairline or dipshit refers to, please?
I'm sorry?
What private fact of yours does that refer to?
I mean, there's a picture of me and see here.
What private fact does balding or dipshit refer to? Yeah, because we could just look at you and everyone know you're a cop. And then 2, you're bald, and so what do we have there?
Can you tell me what fact about you that receding hairline or dipshit refers to, please?
I'm sorry?
What private fact of yours does that refer to?
I mean, there's a picture of me and see here, talking about see. I wouldn't trust him with methamphetamine crack ass alone in my house.
So
I find that pretty insulting.
So that statement is what you're suing on?
Well, no. I told you this is one of many.
Well, and that's why we're trying to find.
You keep trying to make it singular. I'm telling you it's not singular, it's plural.
Okay, and so one of them is dipshit, one is receding hairline, and the other is meth heads.
I'm sorry. Receding hair. What attorney is allowing recede? No. Okay. So that's all the claims we're going through here. He called you dipshit. Okay. Because I mean, you know, that's kind of an opinion, but okay, we'll say that's defamatory. Yeah. And I've got a receding, and he says I have a receding hairline. Well, you do. I mean, you're fucking bald. If you wouldn't shave, your hairline would be way back here. Are you saying that's not receding way back here? Maybe that dipshit. Let's go back to that because that seems to be pertinent at this point, and I think you're just proving the point. We're still going through with this lawsuit. You say, right? Right? Okay.
Yes.
Is there any more?
Well, when he's sitting there making accusations against the organization that I at that time was working for, destroying community trust, all based off of a lie.
You said this was referring to you. Where's your picture in this?
I said, you asked me earlier.
Where's your picture?
No, you asked me earlier.
Your Honor, I'd ask the witness to answer the question.
See, this is good lawyering. I'm specific, and I'm not going to get into an arguing match here with you. I'm the one asking questions. If you want someone to rehabilitate yourself, go fucking wait till your boy comes up here. Let's keep going here.
Okay.
Is your picture in this post?
No.
Is that a picture of your father?
Yes.
So this actually pertains more to your father than you.
Correct.
This would be plaintiff's exhibit number 6, the one about Roy Gabbard. You're not a judge?
Nope.
You're not Roy Gabbard?
Nope.
Were you ever disciplined because of what happened in the raid?
No.
Were you ever disciplined for anything Mr. Foreman said?
No.
Other than your voluntary resignation, have you lost any other income?
I haven't been employed in a year. I've been living off savings. You know, I can't keep gainful employment because I'm going to VA appointments 5 days a week sometimes.
Well, you said that you went to surgery. When did you go into surgery?
I don't remember that. That's
Was it a long time ago?
I don't recall. I'd say it's been over a year, but the dates, I'm sorry, I can't read.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, let's go on to the next section here. Actually, before we do that, this is Luke, my man, giving $5. I'll give $5 match tonight to get this started. This is my groupie week, Tyler. LPR is a terrible disease, FYI. Yes, it is. I appreciate that. Eddie Grimm says, evening, boys. Be more like Luke, everybody. Be more like Luke. This is the way it is. I got a trial next Friday, and then my son is getting married this summer, and they're doing like a wedding shower thing. So we were gonna fly up. It got kind of noticed late, and so tickets are ridiculous. And it's up in Portland area. So we're gonna drive up there. So this $5, much appreciated for the drive. We can't even afford plane tickets, people. That's how bad. No, it's fine. We want to take our dogs, so. Okay, let's talk about Joe Kent. Joe Kent puts in a resignation, but before we get there, our boy Mark Levin posts out here on, which one really works here? On Twitter, Joe Kent. Now, I'm just gonna read this and then I'm gonna do my my comment. Joe Kent, I would like to interview you on my radio show either tomorrow or Friday or one day next week for a full hour. I don't know how to reach you. Have your people call my people. Joe Kent down here says, sure, let's go. Joe Kent, 16, January 19. I don't know why that's his thing, but maybe that's when his 16th of January of 2019, maybe that's when his wife died. Sure, let's go. Now, Mark Levin was never wanting this conversation. And the reason I say that is, unless he actually has it, which I don't, Joe Kent just went on, what's his name? Scott Horton. We're going to play a clip here of him being on Scott Horton today. I think he would, and he says, sure, let's go. I think he would go on Mark Levin's show, but Mark Levin doesn't actually want him on. He wants the appearance, because everyone at this point is like, oh, and actually our boy here, Michael Oxford, makes the point. I just didn't see this until just now. This is exactly what I was going to say. You didn't even tag him, you lazy retard. No, you didn't. He's not a lazy retard. He didn't tag him because he wants to have the appearance that Joe won't come on his show. And then, of course, we have it. No wonder Joe didn't get back to us to come on the radio show. I would have forced this information out of him anyway, which talks about breaking news. He's been investigated by the FBI. Now, the problem is Joe had said below, yeah, I'm right here. You didn't know how to reach him. You don't know how Twitter fucking works. All you do is you tag the guy and then you can DM him. You're on there yourself. Your people can get on your Twitter account, I imagine. Though I imagine no one but him. Look, there's famous people out there, and I've said this before about Jordan Peterson. I swear that his daughter Michaela runs his Twitter account. And the reason being is because you can say everything you want about her and never say anything about him, and he's gonna block you. And now how is he just correlating and collating and going through all her Twitter posts? No, because I got blocked by both. Okay, Jordan and his daughter Michaela, because she runs it, and his Twitter account really is insane. Oh, hello, you're a woman. She's insane. It's what's out there. I am pretty sure no one but this freak show, Mark Levin, is running, and the R stands for retard. The van is running his Twitter, so he could do it. Now, he didn't tag the guy, and then the guy responds, and everyone, this was crazy when this happened. All these people are going, this is the first time I'm gonna watch Mark Levin. I went to his account last night, and I'm like, where, to his YouTube, and I'm like, I scroll through there, it's like an hour, and I'm like, nope, never interviewed Joe Kent. Okay. Yeah, no one's scared of you, Mark Levin. Sorry, I know you pride yourself. I'm like some amazing attorney. You're not. So anyway, that's what happened there. He's a full fucking liar. So I do have another little anti-Semitism thing, but before we do that, we're going to read through actually the letter here. After much reflection, I've decided to resign from my position as director of National Counterterrorism Center effective today. I cannot in good conscience support the ongoing war in Iran. Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation, and it is clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby. It's been an honor serving under POTUS and DNI Gabbard and leading the professional at NCTC. May God bless. Now, here's his letter. After much reflection, I've decided to resign my position as the director of the National Counterterrorism Center effective today. I will say this, watch the interviews if you wish. I watched the interview. I found him to be somewhat impressive, okay? So, and what I mean by that is his ability to understand multiple things, be very calm, and then describe them in a sense in a way that I can actually understand them, okay? This is very complicated. You've got multiple factions of people, of groups in, Syria, Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran. You've got, and he seems to understand that, and he's pointing them out, and he's talking about time periods and situations that is very Scott Horton-like, okay? And you're like, oh, he's giving you a history lesson. And in his interpretation of that, of someone who has been deployed like, what, they said 11 times over there, okay? This means something. You've got to at least say that. So your reaction, it can't be. And when it is, it's disturbing. Your reaction is like Nazi. We played that clip yesterday. Jake Tapper. Oh, he's combing out there with white supremacists and he's anti-Semitic. And it's like, have you listened to this is what you do every time. This is why you guys are watching this. I'm trying to help inoculate you and help you out here as far as like to not give a shit what people say about you. You just have beliefs. And the Overton window's been changing a bit. And part of the problem is we saw this. It goes all the way. The best description of this goes back to Candace Owens and her interview with that rabbi. Okay. Where he's like, you don't understand, Candace. We are the ones that get to describe and define what anti-Semitism is. And she's kind of like, well, that doesn't make sense. What is anti-Semitism? No, it changes on day-to-day basis. And it's like, wait, this sounds very woke to me, okay? This sounds very DNI, Ibram X. Kendi kind of stuff where you're like, oh, you have white privilege. You don't understand. Anything that just sets me off is racist because I'm a black woman and you're, and so it's bullshit, right? And so you have very much, it's almost worse because at least that was somewhat like, well, it hasn't been written down. What is your definition of racism? The fact that you say that is white privilege. Whereas very Jewish in this sense is to legalize it and to write it down. So they have their points. The IHRA, the International International Holocaust Remembrance Association, or whatever it is, definition, and they don't say definition, they say working definition, which means they can always change it of what anti-Semitism is. So their problem with this, and why the Overton window is moving, is because they decided to put this in print. They decided to put in the writing what this definition could be at this moment, at least. And it's crazy. Okay, it's batshit crazy, and when that happens, you lose the optic of being able to try to control the narrative because everyone's like, well, wait. Walter E. Williams, a great economist, black guy that used to sub in for Rush Limbaugh quite often. Think of him with Thomas Sowell. He worked at George Mason University. Brilliant guy. He used to talk about giving people. He was a black guy. He was talking about giving people a pass, right? I forgive you. Here's a certificate. You go to his website, you can actually download it. It was like a forgiveness thing for slavery. He's like, fuck it, I don't really care. But he would talk about the Constitution and dealing with things under the Constitution. And his way he would describe it and equivocate it would be, think about playing poker where someone on the other side constantly gets to change the rules all the time. You can't do it. The Constitution is your rule book, okay? So now you're going into a thing where they are literally going to we just saw this yesterday, with Laura Loomer talking about how she wants to put people in prison, criminal, and there should be some sort of problem if you have anti-Semitic thoughts. The problem is those thoughts, it's a working definition, which by its own definition of working definition means it changes all the time. So when you have a living, breathing constitution, like, how are you fucking supposed to get along? You need the rules of the road to know what you're doing as you move through this world, right? With the Constitution. Same with this fucking definition. And then you have to actually back up and go, wait a second. You're talking about thought crimes? Is that? I mean, you don't need to prosecute someone for what they think, right? It's the intent of what they've done is that action, the actus reus, versus the mens rea. The mens rea is the intent. The actus reus is the actual act. Is that act forbidden, such as throwing a brick through someone's window, such as stopping them on their way to class or whatnot? Yeah, you've false imprisonment. You've got all kinds of little torts you can do and crimes you can do to people for breaking the law. But if you think wrong about someone, is that really where we want to go? Is that really where we want to go? Anyway, so let's get through this. They lie like they breathe. Anti-Semitism is when the Palestinians run from the bombs instead of accepting their fate. Yeah, I've said all along, like the definition. I think Carrie Prejean Butler was just on Tucker, and she described what she thought anti-Semitism was. Zionism was, because I think that's a definition that, people are like, it means the right for them to exist. No, that's bullshit. Okay. And Zionism means different things. And I'd heard there's another guy that was on, it was like a pastor or something who had grown up on the West Bank, and he was a Christian, and his explanation, it was like, look, Zionism means something completely different to someone who lives here than it does to a comfortable, Brooklyn Jew, or someone in Jerusalem, right? Or not Jerusalem, but Tel Aviv, wherever in Israel. Okay, someone that's their idea of Zionism is what they, in their own mind, or what they want you to think is completely different than how it's being affected on the ground to someone else. Okay, let's actually take a look at this. After much reflection, I'm resigning effective today. I cannot, in good conscience, support the ongoing war in Iran. Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation, and it is clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby. I support the values and the foreign policy that you campaigned. This is a letter to Trump. You campaigned in 2016, 20, and 24, which you enacted in your first term until June of 2025. You understood that these wars in the Middle East were a trap that robbed America of its precious lives, of our patriots, and depleted the wealth and prosperity of our nation. In your first administration, you understood better than any modern president how to decisively apply military power without getting us drawn into never-ending wars. You demonstrated this by killing Qasem Soleimani and by defeating ISIS. Early in this administration, high-ranking Israel officials and influential members of the American media deployed a misinformation campaign that wholly undermined your American First platform and sowed pro-war sentiment to encourage a war with Iran. Now, look. There's going to be arguments in here about, and this is actually a problem I have. And Dan Bongino, we're going to play a clip where he kind of rips on this, and I have to somewhat agree, which is like, it is interesting how you watch the Joe Kent interview with Tucker, and you watch Tucker talking to Huckabee, watch Tucker talking to Ted Cruz and anybody else. He never, and you're just starting to see the mask slip a little bit lately, but he doesn't rip on Trump. He rips on like this influence. But at some point you start to have to, you're like, well, and Bongino's all, yeah, they're just a bunch of pussies. They don't take on Trump. And it's like, I get it. But at some point, why is Trump falling for this shit? Okay. Why is he doing it? He's blackmailed. He's getting, does he really feel this? He's got his kids, right? The shots where maybe he thinks it's real. Attempted life. I said something to Pete Quinones, and his point was, he's like, oh, this is payback. This is financial payback for all that they saved him after the last election. He was kind of in a bad spot, and now he gets a bunch of money. It's reinfused his business and everything, and this is a payback for that. That seems to me to be correct. I mean, I think you look at Trump, that's kind of how he operates, okay? This echo chamber was used to deceive you into believing that Iran posed an imminent threat to the United States and that you should strike now. There was a clear path to swift victory. There was a lie, and is the same tactic the Israelis used to draw us into the disastrous Iraq war, or cost our nation the lives of thousands of our best men and women. We cannot make this mistake again. As a veteran who deployed to combat 11 times, and as a Gold Star husband who lost my beloved wife Shannon in a war manufactured by Israel, I cannot support sending next generation off to fight and die in a war that serves no benefit for the American people or justifies the cost of American lives. I pray that you will reflect upon what you are doing in Iran and who you are doing it for. The time for bold action is now. You can reverse course, chart a new path for our nation, or you can allow us to slip further toward decline and chaos. You hold the cards. It is an honor to serve in your administration and to serve the great nation. Okay, there you go. And here's the one. And Razor Fist. And there it is. Explosive. Shelby Talcott reports of 4 sources that confirm the former U.S. counterterrorism chief Joe Kent is under FBI investigation for leaking. The investigation apparently predates his sudden resignation today. There you go. So former reports 4 sources. 4 sources. The only way to get those sources is via a leak. That's why I said literally 4 sources per the Post had to leak this information to the press about someone leaking information. These people are just despicable and whatnot. So, okay, so let's play this first clip here. I've got 5 different clips perhaps, and I'm trying to remember what they're about, but we'll get into it. Let's go.
Just saluting and moving out, but then the second you say, I don't think we should be doing this, and I have an opinion now, then all the attacks come at you. But I truly believe that God put me where I am right now.
This is about why he quit and his comparison with the Vietnam War, which I think is very good. Here we go.
Really putting me through everything I've been through in my life to bring me to this point. I don't believe that God said, hey, you're here now in this moment to just sit back and be a good soldier for this iteration. I've had lots of friends who have said, hey, I think you would have been more value staying in the administration with your experiences. And I understand that. I'm flattered by it. But considering all that I've seen, the conclusions that I've reached, I feel like I'm here for a reason. And something I think probably on my 3rd or 4th deployment, as I was realizing that we were lied to get us into Iraq, and that we had a whole mess that we now had to clean up, and how much it mirrored and echoed Vietnam. I remember, as being in my mid to late 20s, being very frustrated with a lot of the Vietnam veterans who did not speak up against. I know some did, but especially Vietnam veterans who stayed in service as I had intended to do. Who stayed in service and who advocated for the Iraq War. Colin Powell is someone who I have a lot of respect for the way he fought in Vietnam, his leadership in Desert Storm, but then the way that he was part of lying to get us into the Iraq War and then staying on and continuing those lies, knowing full well, having all the experiences of being a guy on the ground in a feudal war that was, basically we were deployed to under false pretenses. He had all that knowledge, and because he wanted to be loyal to, I think, the president, and I think he wanted to be loyal to what he felt was the government that would eventually get it right, he didn't step out and say, we shouldn't be doing this. And
I think that is a very, very, very strong statement, right? Given it some context there with the past and how others like Colin Powell and whatnot just went along with this, because that was pretty egregious. And we all know that, okay? The Iraq War, like the lying about that. And for whose benefit was that, right? Okay, so let's keep going. There's another clip here. Not sure what this one's about either, but I'll figure it out as we go.
Get rid of Assad as well. They saw Iraq as a vehicle for not just taking down Saddam Hussein, who posed a threat to them as well, but also as a way, a lily pad, if you will, to get rid of Syria. And
it's about Syria. I wanted to get, because he made comments about his wife dying for Israel as well. So this is a good idea of like, let's flush this one out.
Basically,
so Assad must go, which was the slogan that all of a sudden emerged out of nowhere.
Right.
That was not like an organic American desire. It wasn't like Americans woke up and were like, the problem really is this ophthalmologist from Syria. He must go. It was that reflected the priorities of Israel, not
Israel. And then I think you had the echo chamber as well, because you had all the usual suspects. You had FTD, and you had all these different other organizations that were out there saying that like now's the time to
Barry Weiss, break off
the shackles.
Expert on Syria.
The next thing you know, like there'll be a Syrian Thomas Jefferson that'll take over, and instead we got the former leader of Al Qaeda. But a big reason that Syria became next after Iraq. In Iraq, we screwed the whole thing up so badly that we toppled Saddam, destabilized, fought a bitter insurgency. The Sunnis eventually aligned with al-Qaeda, but then we beat them down so heavily because the Shias are the majority of the country. The Shias took over. Shias largely, the Shias that we installed in Iraq, the Dawa Party, Badr, Skiri, et cetera, heavily aligned with Iran. And so at the end of the Iraq war under Obama, there was this whole like, oh crap, we just handed basically the keys to Baghdad to the Iranians, who, again, hostile to us. Qasem Soleimani is running all over the place, funding proxies. It's a great deal. It helps Iran circumvent sanctions, their relationship with Iraq. And we just spent trillions, lost nearly 5,000 Americans there. And now we have this Shia superstate. And so then there was a ton of pressure coming from not just the Israelis, but I think also a lot of the Gulf to say, hey, we've got to get rid of Assad as well, because now you have this Iranian land bridge that goes basically from Damascus all the way to Tehran, and then you can hook that down into the Lebanese area where Hezbollah is.
Southern Lebanon.
Okay. Look, I'm struck here by, because I didn't know much about Joe Kent, that he is able to talk about this in the manner that he has. This is not someone who has read books. He's actually lived it. And so for his recall, it's an experience issue, right? It's like you watching your favorite sports team all the time. You know all about it. It's happening. It's your sports team from Japan or it's in the Middle East, which is just a little bit more foreign than it's maybe me with cycling. Okay. You wouldn't know. I could just revisit and you'd be like, wait, what? He's lived it, but he's also dealt with it on a counterterrorism aspect. And the reason I say that that's important is because he isn't just making comments like I might with some of this stuff. He's making very, very, what I would say is informed. And so to push back on him, you've got to push back in a way that you're going to have to know something, right? Or you're going to call, or you're just going to do name calling. And that's really where I think we're at this point. Okay, so let's go to this one. I'm not sure. This might be Charlie Kirk. Let's play this.
Linkage for us to investigate that we needed to run down. I'm not making any conclusions. I'm not saying
I don't think you are.
Because of this happened. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying there's unanswered questions. We know the pressure because of the text messages that have been made public that Charlie was under a lot of pressure from a lot of pro-Israel donors. And again, we know Charlie was advocating to President Trump against this war with Iran.
Joe Kent makes this obvious, which is, look, we're international, or foreign counterterrorism, right? So anything relating to maybe terrorism in the U.S. from a foreign country, this is our thing. So there were some indications immediately that we should be looking into this. Charlie Kirk, maybe there's a connection. There's enough data points, as he says, to do this. And it is completely shut down. This is why you're going to see some clips later on of he's fully lying. No, and trying to smear him. Whether there's anything there, it doesn't matter. I think it's just obvious that the people in charge, your Dan Bonginos, your Kash Patels, have no fucking clue what's really going on. And they're willing to suck it up and to lie for everybody and anybody that they need to. Right, which they've been doing since day one. So we'll get to that in a bit.
And we knew at the end of the 12-day war, at the end of Midnight Hammer, that the Israelis were going to come back and ask us to go back to war again.
Right.
So we have a lot of data points between Butler, the assassination attempts against President Trump, the breaches of his security, what happened to Charlie Kirk.
Can I just ask you to pause on the Charlie Kirk because it upsets me to hear what you're saying, to be reminded that he was murdered, but also to hear you confirm what was reported in the media several months ago, that your office had been blocked from investigating his murder. That does not make sense to me. I don't understand why you would ever turn down help in an investigation from a U.S. agency with a lot of experience in gathering intelligence on things. That's your job.
The FBI will say, and the DOJ will say, that because it's an ongoing case, it's a Utah State case, that back off, they've got it. They've got a smoking case. They've got the fingerprints on the gun, and they've got the kid.
But the FBI was involved in the case.
The FBI was involved. The FBI's basically said that they're deferring to Utah because it's now a state case.
They've established a precedent for federal investigation of this crime.
Yeah, and the National Counterterrorism Center's mandate is to investigate any foreign ties, to see if there's potentially any foreign ties. If we don't find any foreign ties, we back off. What I'm saying, without getting into too much detail, is there was more for us to investigate.
There you go. Dick's out for Tire Gang. Gamg. Dick's out for Tire Gamg. Because you put an M instead of a G. Okay. Let's delete some of these here. This is Joe Kirk on with just just a few hours ago here, 1 hour ago, with Scott Horton, our own Scott Horton. And let's take a look at
A point of clarification here. I believe it was in the Tucker Carlson interview. I saw actually someone quote you critically here, but I thought maybe they misunderstood you, but I wanted to get a little clarification. At one point recently here, you had said that you had fought with Iranian-backed groups in the region. I think it was a little vague. So then I wondered, did that mean that you were part of the surge in 2007 against Sadr's forces in Iraq War II, or in the aftermath of Iraq War III against the Caliphate? I know that there are Iranian-backed militias that hit guys, but I think you were out of the service by then. But so I was wondering if you could clarify that, because I saw someone say, oh, this guy's saying that Al-Qaeda and ISIS are backed by Iran, but I know you're not saying that.
No. So I first deployed to Iraq in 2003. I missed the actual invasion. I was still in the Special Forces qualifications course. Got to Baghdad in the summer of 2003. And then I was in the Special Forces group as a Green Beret. And so basically every year from 2003 until 2011, I would be in Iraq for anywhere between 6 to 8 months at a given time. So I fought against the Iranian-backed militias of all varying stripes, but primarily Sadr's militia, Sabah Haq, Sabah Hezbollah, beginning in really 2004 in Najaf. And that's where we saw the Iranians come in heavily and support them. Members of the Quds Force. Fought them heavily in Sadr City. I was there in the surge. Pretty much throughout the country. Spent my time divided between fighting and hunting the Iranian-backed Shia militias, but then also the Al-Qaeda guys. Went back after the ISIS Caliphate took over and fought between. I was in Baghdad for a little bit, but then was mostly up in Kirkuk, Mosul, that area, a little bit into Syria. So when I say I fought with, I guess you could take that either way. At the time in the counter-ISIS fight, we essentially were acting as the Air Force, and our ground shock troops were the Shia militias, because at the time we had a common enemy. As that fight wound down, I was out of the service, but then my wife was killed in 2019. I left the CIA that I had transitioned to after I retired from the military in 2018. But that's when the Shia militias turned against our forces, and President Trump ultimately decided to retaliate by killing Qasem Soleimani.
All right, so as I said, we've talked before, but it's been a few years, and I don't remember. We might have even had an argument about this, or I don't know, but I want to bring it up because it is crucial. A major talking point against Iran is that they killed 600 of our guys in Iraq War II. And now clearly there was some Iranian support for Sadr. But then again, as you already described, the Supreme Islamic Council and the Dawa Party were much closer to Iran even than Sadr was. And it was really America's attacks against Sadr that drove him into Iran and drove him closer to Iran. But a huge part of this whole narrative then, especially at the hands of David Petraeus and Dick Cheney and Michael Gordon, then of the New York Times, now the Wall Street Journal, was that Iran was responsible for every copper core EFP roadside bomb placed by any Shiite militiamen, especially in the first half of the year 2007. And as I show in my book, and I actually have them all here if you really want to squabble, I have report after report after report after report of these machine shops being found by American soldiers in Iraq, and these bombs being made by Iraqi Shiites for use against the United States, as opposed to the myth that every single one of these things somehow were all part of an Iranian plot. And really, it was Petraeus who had attacked Sadr rather than the other way around in 2007. But anyway, I wondered if you wanted to comment on that, because it is a real crucial talking point, equivalent to, essentially in the narrative, equivalent to the Beirut bombing of 1983 and the hostage crisis, or one of these things that proves that Iran is America's eternal enemy.
I think I'll kind of meet you halfway. So I was over there and I worked heavily on a small task force going after the EFP threat. So the idea of an EFP, it's not incredibly advanced. The Iranians just did the Quds Force just did a very good job of finding ways to manufacture them and employ them against our up-armored technology and to beat our jammers. And then also to punch through our armor. The Quds Force were kind of like my counterpart as a Green Beret. They were very good at training, manning, and equipping. And then what we would say as Green Berets is work yourself out of the job. Train your proxy force so that in short order, they don't need you there anymore. And that's essentially what happened with the EFPs. So the initial EFPs that we found, they were being constructed inside of Iran. And I know exactly what you're talking about with the copper plating, because we did run ourselves in circles looking for like where the Iranians were storing all this mythical copper, and like were they smuggling the copper across the border? I think that was something of chasing ghosts, because really what the Quds Force did was they may have manufactured, I'm confident they manufactured the first run of the EFPs inside of Iran, and they probably tested them there as well. But they were able to take that technology, because it's pretty rudimentary, and then show Iraqis how they could basically build them in Iraqi machine shops, local machine shops in southern Iraq, in Sadr City, et cetera. But largely the TTP, the tactic of the EFP, did come from the Iranians. As for the back and forth relationship that we have with Sadr, I think that if we would have been more deliberate about engaging with Sadr, especially after, I've drawn a blank on the Imam. I think the Imam Khoei, somebody can check me because it's been a while since I thought of this. After he was killed when he returned from Iran, I think we could have made much more progress in kind of making an alliance with the more nationalistic Iraqi Shias, which is what Sadr represented, as opposed to, like you said, the Skiri and the Dawa branch that were.
let's stop there. I mean, look, the main point I'm really getting at is I followed some of that, but that's a lot of it is above and beyond me. So I don't know, but you know, that's a discussion that is intriguing, that is good. And I'm going to go watch this multiple times here because I think it's stuff I'm trying to learn here myself. So how do you combat that, right? If he's just the wrong person. And play one more clip here from Tucker, because this is posted out by Ken Silva, who's done a lot of good work here. Specifically, he says, Joe Kent says the FBI refused to say whether their informant in the Merchant case, a linguistic who worked for the U.S. Army in Afghanistan, had contact with anyone in Butler, PA. Remember, Merchant was arrested on July 12, 2024, the day before Trump was shot in Butler. And then we're going to go to this actual clip, because that's where, you know, one aspect of like, look, Iran is really trying to kill you, Trump. Well, you know, let's not be like George W. Bush, who goes out to, you know, his whole thing, you can claim, of going to Iraq and whatnot was to avenge his father's, you know, ill-fated war in the late 90s in Iraq as well.
That to me was very surprising. Same thing with Butler. When we first started asking questions about Butler, I thought, because especially that happened under the Biden administration, that, hey, we would come in and we would get the truth, because, you know, the previous administration.
We would come in and we would get the truth. Remember, we've played clips of Bongino and Kash Patel. And I think I actually have one in here. So we'll get to.
Administration really screwed this thing up. And there just wasn't curiosity there. There wasn't curiosity, and there wasn't a tolerance whatsoever for us going after just the key questions of like, hey, did the informant that you had that was interacting with this guy, Merchant, was he in communication with anybody in Butler? I mean, basic questions to ask. Again, this is nothing that's going to blow any investigator's socks off. Just those basic questions. Like, no, the two aren't related. Like, you can't talk about it. You can't ask any of those questions. Even when we found data that needed to be looked in. Yeah, I mean, they would say at the time, like, well, the Merchant case is ongoing, et cetera. Like, we can't.
We've seen that to me makes a connection, because Kash Patel has said over and over, well, it's an active case. And they're like, Crooks is dead. It's not active. And he never gives an explanation. Is he saying because of Merchant?
We can't interfere if that case is over. So, I mean, at this point,
I don't understand. I think this is like a new rule.
Yeah.
Which is to say, a fake rule, that you're not allowed to gather information about anything that might potentially intersect with an ongoing case that's not directly related. Like what that.
Yeah, that's bullshit, and those people are full of crap. Okay, let's keep going. Let's see what Dan Bongino has to say. Remember, you're talking about a decorated, I don't know, but decorated, but a veteran who's been in the trenches, 11 different deployments. His wife has died there. He seems to know what he's doing. So this is what his quote unquote friend, and I think I figured out the reason Dan Bongino was let go, or allowed to, or probably pushed out to do, was to go out and try to do this media blitz for problems that are going to come around. This is exactly what he's called upon to do. Okay, this right here is exactly
the truth will always set you free every time. Now you're seeing the grift totally, completely exposed, bare ass out there and everything. Joke.
What I want you to listen to here, okay, is the pushback. Is it name calling, or is it counterintuitive or counter evidence? Right? He's a grifter. Okay, so all of this. What's the point? Why is he doing this? Why is Joe Kent doing this? Is it not moral? Because, you know, that's what he said. It was all due to feels, right? This isn't good for me. So according to, so just listen to everything we're going to play here with Dan Bongino. Is he countering it with facts, or is he name calling?
Kent's a liar. As I said yesterday and the day before,
and by the way, this clip is from his own Bongino report. So it's not like someone else made it. This is what he felt was important to put out.
Friend, Joe disgraced himself last night. Joe's history of service to the country, beyond reproach, period. That does not change anything about what happened last night, however, that Joe Kent is a liar. Calling someone a liar is a big deal, and I know that.
What kind of pressure does it require to get a president who campaigned against exactly this thing for 10 years to do exactly this thing? What is?
And that is a great question. So let's hear, because he's going to hear this, and then he's going to, Bongino is going to, he's going to answer that question, I'm sure.
To do that?
Because it's his clip.
I wish I knew definitively. I think there's two potentials, there's two schools of thought. I mean, one is the media echo chamber, the donors, the way the Israelis come in and kind of launder the information like I described previously.
In 20 seconds, you have it right. This is the mark for suckers. You fall for the hidden knowledge scam and the gatekeeper theory that you voted for Donald Trump, but he's not smart enough to know what's going on. Donald Trump does not know what's going on. Quote, the Israelis have laundered intelligence. I saw the intelligence. So did he. He's lying. That is a lie. Yeah, that's right, folks. The NSA and its huge budget and the CIA and the FBI, CTD, Counterterror Division, and our Counterespionage Division, Counterintel, everyone's just sitting around jerking off all day. You believe that shit?
Yes, and the reason why is because we have well, let's get to some other shit that this guy's saying here. Here we go.
Sean, this is cowardly by these people who you mentioned who are doing this. Because what they do is they call out Donald Trump's entire cabinet and circle of friends and advisors, but they never call out Trump because they know they'll get crushed like a bug. They know it. And then the grift dries up. Then the money dries up. So what they do is because they have no balls, you say it again, no balls, grow a pair. They don't want to take him on directly because he will crush them. So they go about attacking everyone else. They do this all the time. And I call this the Donald Trump has no agency theory. Like Donald Trump doesn't have the ability to think for himself. You've known him longer than I have. I had the pleasure of working for him. You don't know jack squat about this guy if you think he's getting dog walked around by anyone. He's the one walking the damn dog. I promise.
That's
okay. That is interesting. So we're going to do one thing because I didn't have this in here, but it just came to me. Maybe I do have it. Okay, so let's take a look here. What I want to do, because Trump doesn't get dog walked by Israel, right? We've been over that multiple times. He does not get put into place by them at all. Let's see here. Let's go here. Trump tweet post Israel Qatar oil. Let's see if that's in here. There we go. Trump doesn't get dog walked by anybody. Not anybody. He is he's always in charge. So here you go. This is what he posted last night. Israel, out of anger for what has taken place in the Middle East, has violently lashed out at a major facility known as South Pars gas field in Iran. A relatively small section of the whole has been hit. The United States knew nothing about this particular attack, and the country of Qatar was in no way, shape, or form involved with it, nor did it have any idea of what was going to happen. Unfortunately, Iran did not know this, or any of the pertinent facts pertaining to the South Pars attack, and unjustifiably and unfairly attacked a portion of Qatar's LNG gas facility. No more attacks will be made by Israel pertaining to this extremely important and valuable South Pars field unless Iran unwisely decides to attack a very innocent, in this case Qatar, in which instance the United States of America, with or without the help and consent of Israel, will massively blow up the entirety of the South Pars gas field in an amount of strength and power that Iran has never seen or witnessed before. I do not want to authorize this level of violence and destruction because of the long-term implications that will have on the future of Iran. But if Qatar's LNG is again attacked, I will not hesitate to do so. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Okay, that is a strongly worded letter to Israel to say, stop it, stop it. But what did he say there? You don't know Trump. He's not dog walked. Okay, then why are we not taking out Israel or doing something, cutting off their funding, doing anything? No, we're not. Because he's getting fucking dog walked, and your Don Bonginos, he makes a point there. Why are these guys not taking on Trump? You know what? I'll give this to Dave Smith. He's like, I was on with Tulsi Gabbard. I was going forward with RFK. I was going forward with Trump. He ripped the fuck out of RFK on his show. Remember that? The long pause about Israel. Trump, he said he shouldn't be impeached now. And Tulsi Gabbard, he's like, she's a traitor. So, because she's lying before Congress, I believe he thinks. So, with that in mind, yes, maybe Joe Kent should take on Trump a little bit. Some of these people. Carrie Prejean Butler gets fired by Trump for speaking her truth. I don't like that phrase. Speaking the truth on a religious liberties panel about her religious faith, and she gets fired because she's not pro-Zionist enough. That's insanity. And she doesn't say anything bad about Trump. It blows me away. Okay, so let's go to this other Dan Bongino, and then we're going to play a comparison clip, because you've got to think about he just played clips there and stuff, and we've played stuff with Joe Kent. He's a pretty smart guy. I will say this. I've been very impressed with the interviews to his extent and knowledge of the Middle East. He's no slouch. So far, I've heard Dan Bongino, you fucking bald piece of shit. We should get back to the lemon cake or the pound cake. That guy, are you a what do you say, a dickhead or something like that? And receding hairline? Yes, both of those. Do I have one? Maybe. His is more than mine, and he's younger than me, so go fuck himself.
Decorated history of service is beyond reproach. His sacrifice with his family is just unspeakable. I don't even like to think about
his wife, who passed,
however,
who was killed.
Yeah, I mean, her name is emblazoned on a plaque in a facility I can't really talk about. And when you read the story there, it's a tough story to read. But, again, as I've said with other, the sacrifice is beyond reproach. That doesn't mean that this current opinion is any more fact-based, because it's not. I'm really sorry, Laura. I mean, I read probably a lot more intelligence than he did, because they don't have a law enforcement function, the National Counterterrorism Center. They're an analytical clearinghouse. They're valuable. However, I've had access to just about everything. And how you could come to the conclusion that the Israelis did it and there was no imminent threat here? Really? What about the anti-ship ballistic missiles, the drone program, 440 kilograms of 60% enriched nuclear material, their constant death to America chance? I mean,
constant. This is when you know you've lost it. Okay. Now, I will say, he's with the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigations. I don't know that he's being tasked with what Iran is doing over there. I mean, is that your duties? You're looking at Epstein and you're trying to cover up for pedophiles. Is that really your duty? I mean, Tulsi Gabbard, I think, is the boss of Joe Kent. She was just in Congress today or yesterday testifying, and the whole assessment, she's getting pounded over whether this is true. Do they have, nuclear or not? That's their deal. That's what they do. Her department, her section. So maybe he does have some knowledge of that. Counterterrorism, that might be his thing. Oh, but I've read it. Okay, Dan Bongino, let's go. What is your track record, though?
That's called evidence in some...
And they said bad words. For 47 years, they made a statement and they did nothing about it. At what point is that not a evidence to the contrary that maybe they're not doing anything about it? That seems to me to be the way to look at it.
Limited circles, we call that, a clue. I mean, I don't know at what point you thought this wasn't an imminent threat after you've read a lot of the stuff I read. And by the way, that's just the open source stuff we can talk about on...
You haven't been in office for quite some time now, right? It's been a few months. Maybe things are different. I mean, the 12-day war was, I believe, before you left office. So if you're reading this shit, how are you do you still have clearance? That shouldn't be the case. Someone should pull this guy's clearance.
On the air, I promise you, the president, I promise you, has a bevy of material that if he could do the Men in Black thing and erase your mind tomorrow, if he told you right now, you would come to the imminent threat conclusion in a snap.
You're going to see this. Part of this claim was dangerous words. So let's go back here.
Correct, the Obama fix.
Hang on. Let's go back and see some of the stuff that he said before, because he's claiming, I've seen it. Okay, well, you've said those kind of things before and you were full of shit. So let's see what you said before.
Listen, that Jeffrey Epstein story is a big deal. Please do not let that story go. Keep your eye on this. Catherine Rumler, we need to keep the heat on this case, folks. There are a lot of people who are knee deep in the Washington swamp who are not telling you the truth about serious allegations out there.
Listen to how knowledgeable he is, right? He's playing on you. He's telling you, no, you don't understand. There's a lot of people out there. I know. That
Epstein may have had video and audio of people out there doing things they shouldn't have been doing. And you should be asking yourself the question, how is it that all these people, the CIA director, the Obama fixer, Bill Clinton, all intersected paths with Jeffrey Epstein? Jeffrey Epstein isn't with us anymore, and nobody seems to want to talk about it. Outside of a few entrepreneurial media outlets saying, hey, this is a big deal.
He killed himself. Again, you want me to? I've seen the whole fuck.
I've seen this is this motherfucker. He is so full of shit. How are you ever gonna believe anything? Like, so you've got to get it when he says that before, and then it blows my mind. It's as if he has no clue that the internet exists. He does a podcast. They record it. I'm sure he puts clips out. He's got to know that shit can be found out. He says stuff, and this is just one clip. He says stuff with such confidence when he doesn't know jack shit about it. I had one other clip here. Let's see if this is useful. If not, we'll go. This was a clip I played previously.
Former president, potentially next president of the United States, was shot in the head on live television. A guy was murdered in front of his kids, and the story's disappeared into like the Superman 2 Phantom Zone. You know, you remember they send Zod to the. It's like that's the story. It's like out there and you're like. Nobody knows who the guy was working with. If anyone, no one. There's not a social media picture has surfaced to this kid at all. So someone asked me,
but we're not gonna listen to that. What I have to say. So it's just interesting, right? He says with confidence, there's nothing that he pushes back. You just have to trust me. You just have to trust me. I know. I've read it. Why don't you fucking deal with all the facts and all the history that he's claimed? Okay, Israel. That's what. There you go. Okay, we're gonna head out here. Take a look at tyleryonke.substack.com for all your needs. Go there, sign up, do what you need to do, because we're gonna head out here. I hope you guys have a good weekend. It looks like I'm gonna probably have to go into the office a little bit and work over the weekend. It's gonna suck a little bit, but you know it's what it is. I have some ideas of doing some morning shows. I think we'll get into it. We'll hopefully do that. Thank you, Eddie Grimm. Thank you, JC. Thank you, Michael Vega. Thank you, Jordan, Eddie Grimm, everybody. Luke, especially Luke. You know, Luke deserves it because he gave some money. You guys can be more like Luke. tyleryonke.substack.com, and we will see you next time.
Okay, I'm leaving now.
But she's back.
And now.
Tyler, if you had any clout about you, if you had any like knowledge of the real world,
none of us are screaming, "Let's kill Tyler."
Tyler says, "My
Jewish princess."
You low key, you're one of the funniest dudes like in the like Liberty world that I know.
more or less, eat shit and die. He's just a podunk lawyer somewhere in like rural California. He's an idiot, really.
Takes a tough man to make a tender forecast, Nick. I guess that's me. Keep fucking that chicken.
Do you see what he just did to Tyler? I feel like you don't get the appreciation for your humorous wit.
What are you talking about? I didn't say that. Why don't you argue with something I said, you dumb bastard?